Well, welcome everyone. I just want to say hello and good morning. And I'm Rick Bushnell, past president of the Foundation of the Arts and Sciences and current chair of the Environmental Stewardship Committee. And we have Darlene on the call with us today. Darlene Cavalier. She's been on earlier calls and she's much involved in what we're doing at the foundation and has a home in Barnegat Light. So we're happy to have her as part of the team. And her contribution is this SciStarter and the involvement, a way for everybody to get involved in citizen science through a really great website. So I'll let her tell you more about that a little later on, but I'm just going to take care of the introductions for now, and then Darlene chime in as appropriate, or at least at the end. We want to thank the Foundation of the Arts and Sciences for establishing and enabling these events. Without the foundation, we wouldn't have a home. And so I encourage everyone to support the foundation to continue giving us a home, a great home as it is, because we've got one of the last large public accessible marshes. And at the foundation, we have an observation deck where you can go up and look over the marsh. And we even have a marsh walk where you can go on it. We have ospreys in nests. So there's a lot to see there. At the website, by the way, at the foundation, which is lbifoundation.org, there is the science part of the website with a live camera so you can overlook the marsh, and also a weather station so you can see what the weather's doing. So they've been very helpful over the years, the foundation, helping those of us who are interested in the environment. So I want to thank Jenna, who is our staff that pulls all these things together, and of course the executive director, Daniela Kerner. I remind everyone that Memorial Day, the new catalogs for all the activities of the foundation will be out, and ask that you participate. You might even want to join. You might even want to support with some level of donation. So all those things are extremely helpful. So as I've said in the past, everything is connected, and some of the things that are connected, like the weather and the wind that blows from the west, sometimes bring things in the air that we don't particularly like, not the least of which is nitrogen that causes its own problems in the bay, but sometimes it's things like balloons. And so today we're going to learn a little bit about this, and we're going to learn from Devon Haines, who works for DEP and has pretty much all her life spent summers on LBI in Brant Beach. So she understands the local dynamics of LBI, which is really a great thing. And she's the environmental specialist with the New Jersey DEP Environmental Protection Bureau of Climate Resilience Planning. So she's right there, and she even studied that in college. So frequently part studies don't always reflect in what someone does with their life, but this is really great for her. And she's that part of DEP is the lead on New Jersey's networked coastal management program, and that's NJCMP, I'm sorry, for the alphabet soup. But that coordinates planning and research, policy and permitting for the coastal ocean issues. So it's an extremely important part of what we're all concerned about. She's got over 5 years of experience in that project, and as part of that, works with the Mid-Atlantic Regional Council on the Ocean, and that's extremely important. And she'll explain how all these things fit together. So, as I say, it's kind of alphabet soup. But the bottom line is she'll be talking about the initiative that is to reduce marine debris, and certainly balloons, and things that we all can do and should know about. So without further ado, I'll turn things over to Devon.
Thank you, Rick. So Rick covered everything beautifully. You will be hearing a lot of that alphabet soup today. In the coastal management world, and especially Mid-Atlantic Regional Council on the Ocean, there are a lot of acronyms, but I'll be happy to break all those down for you all today. So as he said, I am with the New Jersey Coastal Management Program. I'm an environmental specialist. I am project manager for 2 projects outside of working on the Mid-Atlantic Regional Council on the Ocean. I will jump into
as she's jumping, I'll remind
Yep.
everyone that we do have the chat. So if you've got questions, put them into the chat and then we can address them a little later on. Thank you. Use the chat.
Thank you. So I'm going to jump right into what MACO is. MACO is the Mid-Atlantic Regional Council on the Ocean, which is a regional ocean partnership between 5 states across the Mid-Atlantic. So we have New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. We all came together about 2009, and the governor signed an agreement to have the states work together to create this regional ocean partnership and focus on all of our concerns together because our waterway is connected, and we want to make sure we're protecting all of our resources as much as we can. Within that, we do have the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Planning Committee, which is Mid-A OPC, which is very similar to MARCO, but instead of just being the 5 states, it also includes federal agencies, tribal and fishery management council engagement. So we bring other partners in to give other people a voice on the issues we face. So within MARCO, we have 4 priorities, and within those priorities, we have work groups. So the 4 priorities are climate action adaptation, renewable energy, marine habitats, and water quality. And within those priorities, we have the following work groups, which is ocean conservation, maritime commerce, and navigation safety, offshore wind regional collaboration, non-consumptive recreation, ocean mapping and data, ocean acidification, and marine debris. So there's a lot that we cover in MARCO, but today we're just going to focus on the marine debris and water quality priorities and work groups. So within the priority area of water quality, we focus on ocean acidification and marine debris. So each of those break out into work groups. So we have MACAN, which is the Mid-Atlantic Coastal Acidification Network. And then we have marine debris, which is the Regional Marine Debris Work Group. Our marine debris work group it consists of all 5 of the Mid-Atlantic states, the federal agencies, non-governmental organizations, aquariums, and more. We have a marine debris action plan, so that allows us to lay out all of our tasks and goals that we want to achieve across the 5 states. And then we break it down into a marine debris summit, which we hold once a year. That's free to the public. On top of that, we focused on the balloon release reduction and prevention campaign. And with that, we do monitoring for balloon litter and marine debris. So for our Marine Debris Summit, we held this last year in Ocean City, Maryland. This was actually my first one that I attended. It was a great summit to attend. It was very interesting. It held my attention the whole entire time. Everyone broke everything down very simply, and we focused on microplastic, coastal storm debris, marine debris, large-scale removal. So we focused on boats that are left and abandoned, how to remove those, different policies, and then our community engagement initiatives. So it really broke everything down. We're planning on holding another one this year, and it is free to the public again. So I'm happy to share out more information when all those details come out. But outside of the summit, we mainly focus on the preventing balloon litter. That was our first project that we pulled together as a team. We decided to partner with a gentleman named Doug Mackenzie Moore, who is a specialist in community-based social marketing. He partnered with us to develop surveys and communication materials to communicate to all 5 states to the public on so just marine debris litter in general. And then after we sent out the first survey, we decided to focus on balloon debris and their attachments. So we found from previous surveys that balloon debris is very common in the Mid-Atlantic. We find it a lot on our beaches and our waterways. You might find it offshore if you're on a boat. But we also found that balloons and their attachments are among the deadliest forms of marine debris. So with that, this all came into play when we held one of our marine debris meetings. one of our representatives from Virginia shared that they were piloting a joyful send-off campaign, which focused on talking to venues and seeing if they did balloon releases and how they could avoid balloon releases and focus on other alternatives. So we decided to take Joyful Send-Off to a regional scale, and this was funded through NOAA through our marine debris program in 2018. So with the first steps of our marine debris survey was to create focus groups and surveys. Along with that, we were able to create campaign message and development, and then we also had hands-on beach monitoring to collect more data. The focus groups and surveys were so we could talk to the public and hear from them firsthand what they're experiencing, whether or not they've participated in balloon releases, why they have participated in them, what they think happens to the balloons after they're released. And then we took all that information and were able to create the campaign message that we shared out with everyone. So I'm going to get more into the campaign message development and beach monitoring as we go forward. So with the early surveys, we shared it throughout all 5 states, but again, I'm just going to focus on New Jersey today just because there was a lot of information that we found, which was awesome. In New Jersey, we had 199 participants. Out of those, just to sum up some of the information we collected, 51% of those participants have taken part in a balloon release, and 57% would take part in the future, who have already participated. So more than half were interested in balloon releases. So we wanted to use that information and focus our campaign messaging to kind of turn them away from the balloon releases and focus more on the alternatives. And then out of those 199 participants, 76% of them thought about where they would end up, whether it was they would end up in the ocean, they would end up out in a field, wherever it may be. 76% did think about it, but the other percentage just didn't have any thought of where it would end up. So we also collected just common thoughts from all the participants. So that's a list of all of the comments that people shared with us. So they were saying that balloon releases are a celebratory joy. They're really fun. They mentioned grief. Basically just sharing their thoughts on what balloon releases meant to them. And that helped us really focus in on our messaging and how we wanted to talk to the public. We wanted to relate to why they were doing this, why they might not want to do it, and really focus our messaging in on that. So that brought us to our campaign messaging. We found that wildlife was a big impact in these surveys. A lot of people mentioned wildlife. We decided to put together some images of wildlife that has been impacted by balloons. We did want to avoid anything that would maybe scare off participants. So it did take us a while to find some images that were more approachable to people. So we created one like you see here, where this horse didn't know it was eating grass and there was a balloon in the grass. We have others with turtles, we have some with ducks, but we tried to make sure that the images were approachable to people. People wouldn't be turned away by the messaging. And then, as we saw before, a lot of people share that these balloon releases are for memorials or maybe weddings or birthdays or graduations, something sentimental to the participants. So we wanted to make sure we also had messaging that focused on the sentimental reasons for balloon release, and then understanding why they're doing them, but also giving them the alternatives. So instead of releasing balloons, we can plant a tree to remember a loved one, and it's a lasting memorial instead of just the one-time release. So with those messages, we decided to come up with additional resources to share out with the public, with different organizations, educational organizations, things like that. So we created fact sheets that shared the facts that we found, statistics from our surveys, things like that. We created alternative sheets, which shared different ideas like blowing bubbles or planting the trees or having pinwheels in an event that blow in the wind. We also decided to make a bubble recipe. If we're having people pledge to blow more bubbles rather than release balloons, we want to make sure the bubble recipes are eco-friendly. So they include items that are easily found, easily accessible, and you may even already have in your home. We created posters to share within organizations. So you can hang it in your office building, you can hang it in a classroom, you could hang it by yourself if you wanted to in your own home to remind yourself every day. We created teacher resources, so that includes scripts for conversations in the classroom, how to talk about this with kids, how to talk about this with young adults. We also included lesson plans of how they can fit this in. In New Jersey, it is an educational standard now to include climate change in the classroom. So including these types of things in the lessons plans and providing that to teachers makes it easier for them to work it in. We also created pledge decals. So if people decide to make a pledge, they could either, you can see it down here, so these are a little small, but the top ones give you a fill in the blank. So it says, I pledge to either plant trees instead of releasing balloons or blow bubbles. And then the bottom ones just say, I chose to release bubbles, not balloons. So those are filled in already, but people can take those pledge decals and share them, either putting them on their water bottle, putting them on their car, on their trash can outside, just so people see that you do pledge to avoid balloon releases. And then within the Prevent Balloon Litter, we do have a kit, which is shown here, and it does include a bubble machine. So we included that to make it more fun, draw people's attention in, and just give an example of what we're trying to get people to do instead of releasing balloons. So here you can see over here we have some sticker sheets. We have some pledge decals, some fact sheets, and then this tall banner here that we have, that gives people a place to write their name or write their pledge down and create their own type of bubble to make their pledge at an event. We attend events throughout the year. Sometimes we'll go to schools, sometimes we'll go to parks and do community events at parks. But this picture here, this was at Margate. A bunch of folks from New Jersey decided to get together and share the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign at Margate during an event. But throughout 5 states, there have been 32 events that we've attended and recorded. And out of those 32 events, we've had 1,057 pledges. So we record all the data that we get during these events. So we track how many people we talk to, how many people make pledges, how many fact sheets we hand out, how many sticker sheets may go. But we just like to talk to everyone and inform them of these other options. During these events, we did take surveys to see if they've heard of the campaign, if not, and then other details such as similar questions we asked before. Have you ever participated in a balloon release? Would you ever participate? All of the, I'm going to go back 1 second if I can. Yeah, so all these items in our campaign kits are available to the public. So I do hope to stop by Long Beach Island Foundation and drop off some fact sheets and some own pledge stickers if any of you would like to stop by. I'll probably end up doing that in the next few weeks once I get back to Long Beach Island. But those items are available. If any of you are teachers and are interested in the teacher fact sheets or lesson plans or conversations in the classroom, please feel free to reach out to me. We have an email at the end, and I'm happy to get those items to you. So that brings us to our hands-on data research. So each of the states that are participants of MACO are part of the regional beach monitoring. So twice a year, we're required to select 1 mile stretch of beach. It's the same mile of beach each year. Our locations never change. So we selected one location early on. It's kind of hard to see, but we do list out all the locations on the map. And then during these cleanups, we collect all the trash we come across as well as balloon debris. We separate those two items. So we track trash collected and then we also track balloon debris and we record them separately. And then we have a total collection amount at the end. But we input all this data after each cleanup into our files, and then we track all the data to share at the end. So again, there was over 40 cleanups across all 5 states over a span of 2018 to 2023. I'm just going to be focusing on New Jersey again. So we started our cleanups in October of 2018, and our latest was October of 2023. We selected a mile stretch of beach on Island Beach State Park. So it was approximately from area 18 to area 21, if you're familiar with it. And during this time, we had about 5 to 10 volunteers during each cleanup. And during the balloon monitoring events, I wrote down all of the numbers, the totals that we got here each year. Some of them we did 2 cleanups a year, but I'll go through and kind of talk about each of them. So 2018, we started in October, so we only got 1 cleanup in. We ended up finding 710 non-balloon related items, and then we found 86 balloon related items. So the balloon related items could either be a balloon itself, like a foil balloon, or it could be a piece of a balloon, or sometimes the knot at the end of the balloon, or even balloon string. So we count each of those separately, and then we record it how we found it. We record if it was found up in the dunes, we record if it was found in the middle of the beach or in the waterline. And then we track all that information separately just so we could see if the balloon maybe burst on its way to where it ended up, or maybe if it washed up, it just washed up recently. If it was in the dunes, it either blew in or maybe it had been there for a while. But each of those types of information are really important to us. So 86 balloon related items isn't 86 balloons. It may have been 86 balloon strings, 86 foil balloons, just pieces of balloon, which it can add up really quickly. And then in 2019, we ended up doing 2 balloon monitoring events. At first, we found 1,421 non-balloon related items. And then we also found 81 balloon related items those 2 years, sorry. So it did decrease from the 1 cleanup we did in 2018. It decreased over the 2 cleanups we did still. In 2020, we unfortunately had to cancel due to COVID. We weren't in the office, so we couldn't plan these to go out in public and be together and clean up. So unfortunately, that also went in 2021, where we only had 1 cleanup again, which was, I want to say late summer, early fall, where we collected 349 non-balloon related items and 12 balloon related items. So again, it did decrease, but it was only 1 cleanup that we did in 2021. In 2022, we found 1,443 non-balloon related items and 47 balloon related items. That was over 2 cleanups. So again, we still see that decrease. And then in 2023, we did 2 cleanups again, and that was 1,550 non-balloon related items, and our balloon related items did decrease again to 32. So overall, between 2018 and 2023, we did see a 62.69% decrease in balloons found across that 1 mile stretch of beach. So as you saw, we do take all this information out to community events. We have gone to a few park events, schools, things like that, and we often get the question, how can I help? So I wanted to share some ways to get involved. You can pledge to alternatives, and you can become an advocate and share those alternatives with your community. We also encourage that if you ever do come across balloon marine debris, to clean it up, and that goes for any marine debris too. Just clean it up if you see it. I also learned today that there are ways you can also save that balloon debris and save it for other cleanups. So if you were to do a group cleanup, you can bring it to those and they'll record it separately. And then there are groups like Balloon Mission, Barnegat Bay Blitz, a few others that collect debris. Balloon Mission, you can collect it and take it to a location where you can drop it in a box and it's collected for data. Barnegat Bay Blitz is a community cleanup that DEP hosts every year. We're actually going to have one the week of Earth Week. There's a few events set up. So there's ways to find that information. But you can definitely get involved in other groups for more hands-on interactions. And then I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions, I wrote down the Coastal Zone Management email. I check that every day, so I'm happy to answer any questions or direct you to anyone who may have the answers for you. And then if you wanted any updates on New Jersey's coastal resilience, climate resilience and New Jersey Coastal Management Program, or any of the MACO events that we hold, such as the Marine Debris Summit, please feel free to scan that QR code, and we're happy to send out updates, send you our newsletters to tell you what we're working on. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Very good. And as a matter of fact, I just scanned the QR code and that works brilliantly. That's very good. We did have some comments along the way, and as I'm teeing those up, and I'll ask Darlene take a look through those too. One thing when you were talking about the alternative things people can do, pinwheels and one thing or another, I came across one a few years ago that I thought was brilliant, and it's a butterfly release. People like to have things go up into the air, and then I actually found a company that online you could order the butterflies and they send you a box of butterflies. Evidently butterflies travel well, especially by air, but and just some other ideas. So maybe just as we're talking about this, what other ideas have you seen, Devon?
I know personally in my family, we've had memorial events. I haven't been at them, but we have done dove releases. So that's another one, and that butterfly idea did remind me of that. So there are companies where you can request doves and you can release the doves. So there's a lot of fun alternatives besides just blowing bubbles or planting a tree that you can put together that still have things go up in the air.
Cool. There were two comments here. One, Bill was saying, have there been any attempts to simply outlaw marine debris? And then we got a comment from Cynthia, and we'll invite Cynthia to give us a little bit of insight because she is involved in marine debris in New York, I think. Anyhow, saying that she said that there are many laws on the books, but people just don't know about them. And so maybe I'll just, Cynthia, you want to chime in? This might be an excellent time and introduce yourself and then amplify that idea.
Yes, thank you so much. Devon, first, you did an amazing job explaining MARCO and MACO and all the Prevent Balloon Litter campaign and the research that you've done. Thank you for all your efforts with that. You know, just very quickly, you know, I came across this. I'm also part of the MARCO Marine Debris Work Group, and that's how I know Devon. And I knew she was putting on this amazing presentation today. You know, being in coastal communities here, where I'm on Long Island, and we found all these balloons as well. And certainly I found them during my beach cleanups during the pandemic. Also shout out to Ship Bottom and Long Beach Island because we have family there and we love New Jersey. We're there every summer. But during the pandemic, I was involved in beach cleanups, seeing a lot of balloon litter as well, and said, is this really a thing? Because what we notice when we talk to people in our outreach programs is that the biggest problem with balloons is people don't know they're a problem. And Devon, as you saw during the surveys, same thing. And this is like a big cultural norm and practice, releasing balloons. We see a lot of balloon releases around graduation time. We see balloons for memorials and other celebrations. And with this Prevent Balloon Litter campaign that Devon so beautifully described, you know, the point is to really change the cultural norm. It's to create a new practice. And so whether you're promoting bubbles over balloon releases, making it fun, and what I loved about this campaign program is that it's very inclusive. It's inclusive, it's welcoming. We're not Nobody's out to shame anybody or make people feel guilty about using balloons. The message is it's okay to use balloons, but we have to do so responsibly. People don't know, you know, you ask people, well, where do balloons go? I ask children all the time in our outreach programs, where do you think balloons go when they go up in the sky? Oh, they go up to heaven. Oh, they go to outer space. Well, no, what we know is that what goes up must come down. And so they travel thousands of miles. They don't biodegrade. As you know, the balloon companies will tell you they're biodegradable. But there's new research that tells us that there's no regulatory body that works with labeling and marketing. And so, you know, if they put something out there as environmentally friendly, that's going to sell. People want environmentally friendly products. There are warning labels on balloons, foil balloons, and latex balloon packages that tell you don't release balloons, weight them down, that the latex pieces are a choking hazard for children under 8 years old. So if they're a choking hazard for children, then they're also a choking hazard for animals. So we really want to educate and share this information, and the materials that Devon showed in her slides. You know, I'm very thankful I have my own kit and I take it with me, and we go into schools and we go into libraries. And it's always very surprising for people. There's a law against balloon releases. Yes, there is, because it's enough of a problem that the legislative bodies, while we can't get it at the state level, and that's changing in some states, we are able to see impact and change at the municipality level. There are lobbyists who have blocked legislation. So you have your balloon retailers like Party City, who I'm very fortunate that we're working together because we want to work together. And they recognize also that, you know, we have a climate issue and we have a pollution issue, and all these things are contributing. And the marine debris that we're seeing, you know, while in New Jersey, I've had the good fortune of being a part of 4 of those annual surveys. Here on Long Island, we have a 1 by 1 mile stretch of beach, like Devon explained earlier. But those surveys, when we do them, are dependent on weather, time of year, tides. They're dependent on if you have piping plovers that are nesting, and we have to be very careful. So it's not like it's the same time every year. We're not doing it after graduation season, you know, so it's not consistent, you know, as far as the data that we're collecting. And we know that balloons are a $1.5 billion industry. They're innovating, they're growing. And this, because it's growing, and that's where balloon mission started, it's growing unchecked, but how can we get in front of this balloon litter that's happening, similar to plastic straws that we know are very bad for turtles and the environment and marine life. Similar to the plastic bags that we're trying to get rid of because they're so light and flimsy. Balloons, like plastic bags, float at the top of the water column, right? And so it's very, anything out in the environment is food for animals. So whether they're eating hard plastic or soft plastic, there was a study done in 2016 and the Ocean Conservancy reported on it. Balloons are the #1 killer of seabirds and they're the 3rd leading killer of sea turtles. But on land or sea, if that balloon litter is falling down, animals will eat it. Jumping over to Florida in Miami, they just passed a balloon ban law. And the people that were, and I think the state of Florida is going to be passing another law statewide. And the cattle ranchers in Florida were the ones who were pushing this bill because when those balloons were coming down, they were landing on their hay fields. And when they would roll the hay fields up, the hay up, all that plastic latex was ending up in the hay rolls, the bales, hay bales, and the farm animals were eating them and dying.
Okay,
So,
I'm gonna
oh,
jump
sorry.
in. I can tell you're very enthusiastic.
I am sorry.
It's really good for people to hear that there are things that they as individuals can be doing. And I'll kind of use that thought as a segue over to have Darlene give us some ideas of maybe some things that people could be doing. I'd love to see the Foundation, Alliance for a Living Ocean, the field station kind of take this on as a mission, because frankly, when we do talks at Reclaim the Bay, people want to know what they can do to help. Well, the fact is they can help us more when they go home by keeping things out of the air that wind up landing on the beach. Some of those are balloons, and as I said earlier, some of it's nitrogen. But Darlene, could you give us some little insight into things people might be able to do?
Yes, definitely. And I've been enjoying this too. And I love the solutions and the input that we're getting from the people who are tuning in. So thank you for that. I am going to republish a link here in chat. And so anybody tuning into Zoom, if you're able to find chat, for me, it's at the bottom of my screen and I have to click the 3 little dots that say more. And then chat is the option there. This is where you can enter your questions if you have any, and you can see the links that we're talking about. Devon just put her contact information in there. I just dropped a link in there. It goes over to a web page. And this web page kind of helps to organize different speakers that we've had through Science Saturday and then related projects. So some of the projects that you see there would be very useful as you're doing some of the events and activities that Devon and Cynthia talked about, because you can collect this data and it can be shared and used locally as well as regionally, nationally, globally. So many of these projects, they may be at a global scale, but you get that data to use however you need it. These are free programs. These are usually organized by universities or federal or state agencies. One in particular that I mentioned earlier is called Marine Debris Tracker. This one is phenomenal because while you're doing beach cleanups, you can identify, it's basically a digital checklist. So Devon, you're probably, if you're not familiar with it, I would get familiar with this one because it just makes your life easier and those of the volunteers too. Because while you're documenting things, you can pull that data out, as I mentioned, locally. So it's not like you're just feeding this information to a scientist who you have to wait 4 years for them to publish their paper and you never know what happens. You get to use this data too. What it does is it standardizes the protocol. The protocols are instructions that everybody follows to make sure that the data is useful. And also you can start to track things over time. And others that we've had speak on Science Saturday, they can also start to use this is called citizen science generated data. This is when volunteers are getting involved in sharing observations, making comments along with that documentation that might tell a fuller story. And then people can use this data as well to start mapping, is this related to storms that have happened, fires, celebrations? Do we see more of this trash or litter, debris happening with balloons after July 4th? A lot of these patterns can be told and shared through citizen science. So this also happens to be Citizen Science Month, all of April. And so there's no excuse not to get involved, except of course, the number one barrier for everybody is time. But if you have a couple of minutes to just poke around that site, those are projects that are very, very helpful to all who inhabit and live around Long Beach Island in particular. But you'll find thousands of other ones on SciStarter too. Thank you.
That's great. So Cynthia chimed in a little. I'm going to read your comment. Balloon missions collect balloons after the fun is done. People pop in and drop their inflated balloons into a balloon bin, and will safely reuse or repurpose them, keeping this litter out of the standard waste stream. And that gets the standard waste stream gets into something that's near and dear to one of our earlier speakers, Angela Anderson, because she's the sustainability coordinator for Long Beach Township. And like I keep saying, everything is connected. And one of the things that she's very involved in is the collection of trash so that people can get things into the appropriate stream for that type of debris or trash as we might think about it. So that's a good one. And I really do hope that someone, and maybe someone on the call today, would like to be a lead on this. And we're always looking for a person to take on a project. And what I would see would be just someone who would coordinate getting this information. There are, as I say, there's Alliance for a Living Ocean, Clean Ocean Action, Reclaim the Bay, certainly LBI's Garden Club. So there are many people that are concerned about this, and just sharing the information, Devon, like you did today, with the data that's showing what the problems are. And then imagine having more real-time data available by citizen scientists posting their observations into something like what Darlene was talking about. So that's our hope for all of these sessions, is that people will then go out and do something and not just sit back and enjoy expanded knowledge and something to talk about at a cocktail party, which isn't a bad place to start. But I think that these kinds of things are extremely helpful. And as Darlene mentioned, I'll reiterate, so out at the Foundation's website, if you go to Science Saturdays, you can find any one of our speakers and then all of the links to things that speaker talked about. So you have a place to go and follow up. And it may be a week or two before you get around to it, or maybe not during the winter, but in the summer when you start going to LBI and doing those things, that may help out. So I can see that we don't have any new questions, just comments. I don't see any new ones. Did I miss any, Darlene?
No.
If not, I think class is dismissed. And as I've said before, we had more people on at the end than we had in the beginning. And so, Devon, I give you an A or an A+, because everybody stayed on the call. And that to me is that's a winner. And I think we all win when we can all learn and share information. So have a great weekend. Remember, it is Earth Month, or Citizen Science Month. And then we have Earth Day coming up. So I'm sure some of you will be involved, and others, please get involved.
Actually, Rick, I wanted to add that because of the eclipse on Monday, there's also citizen science projects you could do related to the eclipse. I'll just drop that link in here too, just to make it easier to find. And I think Jenna will share these links in a follow-up with a recording of the event too. Let's see.
That's great. And glad you mentioned the eclipse. Darlene has taken some of the eclipse glasses to the Foundation, and I think to the library on LBI.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Extra
and
glasses for
please
sitting.
don't even think about looking at the sun without protection on your eyes. That's it. And the weather forecasts sound like we might be able to see the eclipse. I do remember 2017. That worked out pretty well. I was sitting on my deck looking at the eclipse. So yeah, big eclipse day, and lots of good information about that. And I think that's it. Class is dismissed. Thank you all, and thank you especially Devon, and hope to see you next week.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Rick. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.